It's 5:30, and I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Urbana Human Relations Commission, Wednesday, April 14th. Let's have a roll call.
Carol Bradford, Stacy Burnett,
Here.
Reverend Florence Caplow, Megan McKissick,
Here.
Peter Resnick,
Here.
Francis Rigberg,
Here.
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Here.
Excellent. We have a quorum. Next, we will look at our agenda for tonight and have a motion for approval of that agenda or any changes. Well, first the motion to approve, sorry.
I'll move approval.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll now vote on approval of the minutes by roll call.
The agenda.
I'm sorry, the agenda.
Stacy Burnett,
Present.
We're voting on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Megan McKissick,
Yes.
Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Rigberg,
Yes,
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Yes.
excellent. Does anybody, oh, we voted. Okay, approval. Now we're going to consider the minutes from March 10th regular meeting and our March 18th special meeting. Would someone move, please, the approval of one or both of these?
I'll move to approve.
I'll
Both.
second.
Okay, someone second that?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and approval for these minutes. Does anyone have any corrections or comments or anything about the contents of these minutes?
Megan, did you move to approve both sets? I'm sorry if I missed that.
No, I second it. Oh, yes, I did. Sorry. Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Okay, if there is no discussion, we'll have a roll call vote on that.
Stacy Burnett,
Yes.
Megan McKissick,
Yes.
Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Rigberg,
Yes?
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay, we have approval of our minutes. Next, we move on to public participation. Do we have any raised hands? No one who wishes to speak?
There is.
There is, I can't see it on my
If you
screen.
click on the participants and switch to attendees view, you'll see everybody who's.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I see it. Okay, Christopher. Okay. Christopher, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes. Mhm.
Hi, my name is Christopher Hansen. I live in Urbana. I've been speaking at your meetings pretty frequently, almost all of them for the last probably year or so. I brought quite a few issues forward, things related to issues of discrimination, problems with the CPRB, which is situated right next to the HRC and are linked together in your ordinances. Today, I guess, wanted to talk to you about, I guess, the posture of this board, this commission, and how you interface yourself with the public. So, like I said, I've spoken at a lot of your meetings, and frequently I'm the only person to speak at your meetings. And none of this has anything to do with any of the new members, but some of the other members have, basically given me a lot of negative feedback because I speak at your meetings. And I think that's the wrong posture. I think the posture you should be taking and asking is, why am I the only person who frequently speaks at your meetings? Where's the rest of the public? Why don't they think it worth their time to approach this commission and bring issues of concern forward? And I know there have been in the past years ago, but it's, have they given up on you? Do they think this board is ineffective? It's not a problem. I don't think that, I show up and speak at your meetings. I think it's a problem is that you don't have a bunch of other people showing up and giving input. And so, I brought some issues to your attention, back in, I guess it was, I don't know, September, was it earlier than that? I brought this issue of criminal background checks to this board, and I'm glad we're finally talking about it after a very, very long time. But I got nothing but negative, comments from members of the HRC as I've tried to push these issues in front of you. And, some of you have called me names and, said bad things about me and told lies about me. And I don't know why you would do that. And the chair of the HRC encouraged the mayor to mute me whenever I tried to speak about issues. And, that's actually, technically that's a crime. The Open Meetings Act is a state statute. And so I wish you guys wouldn't do this. It just makes me wonder where your interests actually lie. I think I'm bringing, a lot of important issues to your attention, and the feedback I get is that you just don't want to hear about it lots of the time. I just wish you'd, by the way, I think you guys did a great job, Pete and Francis, at the recent city council meeting. I sure wish we could have been more productive on that issue, 6 months ago or whenever it came up, instead of, having the city attorney basically just lambast me for trying to bring that forward. Where was the commission to back me up or to help on that when the city attorney was sitting there just ripping on me for trying to bring this to someone's attention? We don't seem to have a way of solving ethics problems in the city here. So anyways, I hope you consider changing your posture on that, so that people will feel comfortable coming forward to the board, because right now I feel like the posture of the city is to attack people who bring problems forward. So so that's that. Thank you.
And I just wanted to note for Jason that Carol Bradford has joined.
Oh, great.
And so if you could move her into the room.
Yes, please. That's great. Okay, thank you, Christopher. Is there anyone, let me see if there are any other people who would like to speak. There does seem to be somebody, an unidentified person who wishes to speak. A phone number is given. Go ahead. Please state your name and residence. I believe that's required.
The person seems to be muted. If
Okay, yeah, you're muted, sir or madam.
The caller will have to hit *6 to unmute themselves.
Okay, did you hear that?
oh shoot.
Okay. There's someone who wishes to speak and is permitted to speak, but is still muted. So we're going to have to move on unless that person can speak.
Try dialing *6 on your phone if you're dialed in.
Yes.
Aha.
Do we have someone?
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Oh, great.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because I have my phone on. I have my phone on for the webinar. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I have my phone on for the webinar, and
Okay.
it wouldn't work, and now I'm calling in. So
Okey-doke.
I'm just so tired of going through this. Every time I try to get to, it happens to me when I try to get on the city council meetings. I don't know what's going on. Nothing else. I've been on today with 2 other, and it never happens. I don't know what's going on because I was on with the coalition. Nothing happened. I was able to do it. But thank you, Mr. Resnick, because I've never called in before, but I wanted to make sure that I get an opportunity to just say one thing.
You're
So-
go right ahead.
Yes, you've got
Okay.
4 minutes.
Oh, okay. And it's so unfortunate, but I'm going to check this out because I really had something that I wanted to say on the agenda items, but I just had to get on to let you know that at the city council meeting, Miss Francis, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but it was so important. My husband and I were both on, and we couldn't get on to say anything, but I did let the mayor know that she was right on point, Miss Francis, and we need to make sure we listen to exactly what she had to say. You know, I've been in this community for many, many years, more than 60 years, and I was in on when they got some of the things going that's going now. And it seemed like I see Miss Stacy Burnett from our area. I'm glad to see her there. But Miss Francis spoke on point on every issue that she spoke to, and it's so important. I don't know how much time I got, but
You have 2 more minutes.
huh?
You have 2 more minutes.
Okay, one thing, the advertisement is just so important. I mean, I just don't understand. It's just so, people can't see. It's something the devil, and I'm going to speak what I believe, got the minds of, the eyes of so many people blinded that they can't see. Now, it's so clear that some things are not supposed to be done. I think they forgot about the Constitution. I think they forgot about how you're supposed to treat the citizenry. Last night when we went out, the electorate. So anyway, I stopped there. But it's so important that people got to start standing up for that which is right, and they know. The young people, seemingly, they're going forward, and we need to help them to go forward and make them feel welcome when they want to speak to us about issues. Thank you very much. And I'm going to listen in, but I'm going to hang up the phone, so I probably won't be able to talk. But I can hear you and see you on my phone. Good night.
One thing before you go, could you please state your name for the clerk?
Yeah, I thought I said it. Reverend Dr. Evelyn Burnett Underwood.
Thank you so much.
Reverend Dr. Evelyn Burnett Underwood. That's my full name, and I would like it in the minutes that way, if you don't mind, please.
Glad to.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank
Bye-bye.
you for your kind words.
No, it's the truth. God knows the truth.
Thank you. Okay, let's see if anyone else would like to speak now that I've learned how to do that. No. Okay. And then we'll move on to unfinished business. We have our bylaws that I sent out. I just made the changes that I had sent out earlier. I just accepted them into the document so you could actually read it. And I would like to have us talk about it if anybody has anything else they would like to say about it. And even though we might change them again in the future, once we have a new officer, we have kind of tidied them up and did some good housekeeping here. So that's what will be our next item. If someone would like to move that we approve of these bylaws as they're now written, that motion can be made, and then we can discuss any changes that people might like to see.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Julie, a second?
I'll second.
Pete? Okay, so we have moved by Julie, seconded by Pete, that these will be our new bylaws. Open the floor to discussion of anything in there that people would have question about or would like to change or amend, and I can do that before, and we can approve it with the amendments made.
The only simple amendment that I would make at the time being is we refer to the Human Rights and Equity Officer, which
Yeah.
will be the new title. Has that been approved in any way or put in any way as far as ordinances go? Because we do use Human Rights Officer now, and perhaps we should leave it that way and then update it when the time comes that we get the new person and we sort of codify that all. Elizabeth, do you have any knowledge of what's going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know that the job title was changed in the job description, but I'm not aware that it's been updated in the code at this point. So that probably still needs to happen. I think from a practical point of view, most people will understand those are interchangeable. So if you use HRO, we're going to know that it applies to that person.
So that would be my only suggestion would be, let's just do a global replace of
Go back.
Human Rights and Equity Officer with, is it Human Rights Officer, Human Relations Officer? Now I've forgotten, I have to go look.
I'm not sure what it says in the,
I
in
think
the
it's
code.
human relations officer.
Okay,
But
but it's
somewhere
a
on
human
this-
rights ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
The human an officer. Human relations officer. Yeah.
Okay,
So why don't we
Will
just
do.
do global replace, and will you take that as a friendly amendment?
absolutely. Is there, I know, it could have been a little more friendly. No, anyway. Okay, does anyone else have anything, a question or typo or anything that you'd like?
Just a quick formatting one, and I'm sorry, because this comes from me working with contracts. No widowed headers. So
Oh, do
headers
I have
for,
that? Oh,
yeah, there are a couple where the header's on the page before at the bottom. At least when I'm looking at it on the screen. Now when it prints
okay,
out.
I'm not seeing that. Oh, yeah. Well,
So-
I know all about widows and orphans in my work, so that's bad. That's on me. I will fix the formatting.
That's the only thing I noticed.
No,
Sorry,
okay.
that's a byproduct
Appreciate
of my
that.
daily job.
Yeah, okay. There's always a mistake, in a document. Okay, anybody else? Okay, if there's no more discussion, we can take a roll call vote.
Stacy Burnett,
Yes.
Megan McKissick,
Yes.
Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Rigberg,
Yes,
Julie Robinson Schaefer,
Yes.
And Carol Bradford.
and
should
Carol
and
Bradford.
Carol.
Yes.
Oh, oh, hi. It's so good to see you. Thank
Thank
God.
you.
Oh, it's so good to see so many of you. The only person we're missing is Florence, I believe, tonight.
And Fran, can I ask that since we're now approved, once you get the edits in and a cleaned up copy, could
Mhm.
that be posted to the HRC webpage?
Absolutely. Yes, I'll send it to Tamara.
Thanks.
Okay, excellent. All right. New business. We have an important matter here. One of our big concerns for this year that we discussed earlier when we were setting goals is housing discrimination in town. And particularly it's been brought to our attention that there's a problem regarding the use of prior conviction record on the part of landlords, not only in applications, but in advertisements and so forth. And so this is something we need to discuss, and Pete has proposed a letter, which you've all received, to go out to landlords. Would this be to all the landlords or just the ones where we?
So my proposal, and by the way, if you're okay, I have a quick presentation
Oh, great.
just to show people what I'm up to here.
Okay. That's fine.
But if you all remember Danielle Chenoweth from I don't know if she was representing the Cunningham Township at that point or the Housing Authority, but she is involved with both, came and gave us a presentation about landlords that they had found that were asking directly on rental applications, have you ever been convicted? Or do you have a conviction record? And so this comes out of that discussion. And so I put this letter basically to go out to the landlords in her list. And the survey they had done was a couple of years ago. So I'd like to either I can, get at it myself, or if staff can help out, kind of go through the websites of those landlords, check to make sure that they still have that on their application. I checked a few and they are still there, and then send out letters to those that we find. And at some point we should probably do a survey of all landlords, but this is the one that Danielle and her folks found. So let me give you my short little presentation, if that's okay.
Please.
Let's see if the magic happens here. Share. Do you all see my screen?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay, so here's a little brief summary of what we're talking about here. Let's say when I was 18 years old, someone accidentally spilled a drink on me and I angrily gave him a shove with my hands. According to Illinois law, that's misdemeanor battery. If I happen to do that at the ballpark, which is a sports venue, that falls under aggravated battery. And that could be, I could be charged with a class 3 felony for doing so in a public place like a ballpark. So the question arises, if I were convicted of such a thing, especially so long ago, should a landlord be able to turn down my rental application based wholly or partially on the record itself? According to our ordinance, doing so is unlawful. So I wanted to go through just the bits that are important to housing, and you'll notice that some of this might bring us back to the question about employment again, but I'm going to put that off for the moment. In any event, in the definitions of our ordinance, any practice which is based wholly or partially on, and one of the categories is prior arrest or conviction record, is discrimination by definition. Now, down in the housing section, 1264A says it's unlawful to do any of the following based wholly or partially on that sort of discrimination on the basis of conviction record is one of the definitions. To refuse to negotiate for, enter into, or perform any sale, exchange, or lease of any real property. So if you base your decision to rent on someone's conviction record or arrest record, you have violated the law. It's absolutely clear. The other thing is that you are not allowed to make, print, or publish any notice, statement, or advertisement which indicates or attempts to indicate a preference or limitation based on that discrimination. There is one exception that might apply. It says the provisions of this article will not prohibit inquiring into and reporting upon the qualifications of a buyer or tenant, but it's got to be other than those based on discrimination. So it can't be the arrest or conviction record that you are inquiring into a buyer or prospective tenant. So I conclude that it seems plainly a violation of that last one to ask the question on the application. You can't, on 1264A5, you can't do that. Now, we got a correspondence from Esther Pat, which asked us to include a statement that a landlord can never, under any circumstances, consider prior arrest or conviction record of an applicant in deciding whether to accept an application. There are no exceptions, and I agree, that's true. That would be a violation of 1264A1, and it is not covered by the exception in 1264D3. So neither one of these things is okay. But I didn't include that in something like that in the letter originally. And I thought there might be some questions. So if someone were to ask, can I ask a reference or a previous landlord, you know, Fran is a prospective tenant. Has she ever beaten up or gotten into a fight with any other tenant in your building? I can probably ask that question if I check a reference or check with one of Fran's previous landlords. I can ask whether she's a bully or beats people up. If I ask my friend Andy, who happens to be a police officer, if he knows whether Fran has ever beaten up or gotten into a fight with someone, well, that's getting a little trickier because how would he know? And here's the real rub. If I ask my friend Andy, the police officer, has Fran ever been arrested or convicted for battery? I probably can't do that. And I certainly can't base my decision to rent on that information. Basing it on what she's done in the past, I might be able to. Basing it on the record itself, was it just a class 3 felony that I got into a shoving match with someone at the ballpark, or did I beat up another tenant? That's the real question. Can I check with a background check firm? And again, the answer there is probably not. But in any event, I can't base my decision on info just on the background check, just on the fact of the conviction. And yes, I understand that that might implicate the employment guidance we've been giving to employers, but I think that's a discussion for another day. So in the letter, it clearly says you can't ask the question. You can't ask whether someone has a prior arrest or conviction record. And I think that's straightforward. It's a violation of 1264A5. However, the above questions I presented, I think, make putting in a statement along the lines of you can't base a decision on arrest or conviction record trickier, because it's going to invite a whole bunch of questions that landlords might have. And I am a little ambivalent about including such a statement until we and the HRO, the office, is prepared to give landlords explanations of what they can and can't do. On the other hand, I would prefer not to hold off on the letter until we come up with those explanations. It's perfectly clear that you can't ask the question on the application. We've put up off this topic for a long time, and I'm inclined to say, let's send the letter that says you can't ask the question, and then get around to sending a letter to all landlords saying, by the way, you can't base it on arrest or conviction record, and here's the explanation of why and what you can and can't do. So, anybody got any questions, or should I just make a motion?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When we discussed, when this was brought up by Danielle, she talked about advertisements as well.
Right.
What was your, why did you decide not to include that?
I did not independently decide. I sort of considered it, you know, the application itself was a clear one. Advertisements, if they're saying in advertisements, we do not accept people with arrest or conviction records, and we have, you know, we have the printed out thing to back that up. I have absolutely no objection to putting that in the letter too. Okay. What I'm inclined to do is, you know, the review of who's doing this, save it to a piece of paper, right? And include it in the letter to the landlord saying, you can't do this. And here's the example. And if it's an advertisement, that's fine too. But yeah, I have no objection to including such a thing in the letter. It's just the whole discussion of, you know, what is a violation of 1264A1, I think is it is as straightforward as Ms. Pat put it in her letter to us. But the questions it's going to invite and the discussion it's going to invite are going to require everybody to be prepared to answer all of their concerns. And I don't think we are at this point.
This and as related to employment as well, is all a very profound issue because it requires a profound change of mindset and in every area, in ways that other protected classes and treatment of them has also been. This one is going to be particularly stubborn, I think.
Yep.
And I agree. I think that the letter should be sent because we've been delayed so long. And but it should be very particular and specific, although I'm sure others will hear about it. I'm sure there will be discussion among landlords probably about this if they get a letter like this.
Yep. So should I make the motion or?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, yes.
So I'm going to move that we do a review, that myself or staff or combination thereof do a review of the list that Danielle sent to us to get a list of landlords who are advertising or indicating on their application a arrest or conviction record as a criteria, and send a letter as outlined, as I've submitted, to those landlords.
At which point we may take another look at the
I
letter.
think we'll want to send a full letter to all landlords explaining what they can and
It's
can't.
just sort of a serving.
I don't want to make that part of the motion at this point.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, we have a motion and a second to move ahead with this in terms of trying to determine the landlords for whom such a letter would be appropriate, and move ahead with our intention to send this letter, send such a letter. Does anyone have anything they would like to bring up?
I have a
So,
question.
go ahead,
Oh,
Stacey.
Stacy?
I'm just curious as how many landlords will have questions and concerns about the letter. So will there be a workshop or some type of seminar or something to have landlords
Mhm.
all combined together in one room setting to go over these rather than having to address each individually?
So with regard to the letter, this particular letter is simply going to say, stop doing that on your website, take it off, or take it off your application, or whatever it is. And I don't think we need to do a presentation for those folks. We're giving them direct advice. This one thing is problematic. I think when we develop after this discussion, when we develop a letter which says, here are the things you can and can't do, that is going to require a long discussion with landlords. They're going to have lots of questions. And then I suggest, and hopefully by that point, we'll have, a new HRO on board. We'll be able to set up some training, whether we do a Zoom meeting, whether we, have some written materials, whatever, or something like we had for the landlords that we came up with those years ago.
You mean the
for the
employers?
employers,
Mhm.
I think we can do something like that. But we're talking about, at least from the list I saw, I think at most a couple of dozen. So I think those can be handled on a one-off basis if needed.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Anybody else before we vote have something they'd want to say or ask about this?
Carol
This is
pushed her.
Carol, yeah.
Yes.
I raised my little hand, but no one saw it.
Oh, God. I see it now. It's adorable. Yeah.
So yes, no, I just want to thank Pete, and I'm really happy to see this because one of the programs I manage is a program where we work with young men that are trying to turn their lives around, and oftentimes the biggest hurdles to that are employment discrimination and housing discrimination. And I just think it's really hypocritical to say to someone, stop doing what you're doing and get your life together. And then we throw barriers in the way for them to have stable housing and stable employment. So I'm really pleased to see the City of Urbana and the Human Relations Commission move forward with addressing some of this in our community.
Thank you, Carol.
Yeah, and just to follow up to that, I will say that what finally kicked my butt into just coming up with something to do here, when Fran and I were attending the city council meetings about the employment thing, one of the other topics that came up just sort of randomly was Claudia Lenhoff, the executive director of Champaign County Healthcare Consumers, came and was asking for a grant from the city. And it was to deal with some homeless population who had healthcare issues and finding them housing and things. And one of the things she mentioned during her talk was that she had homeless senior citizens effectively, or people who were older but in very poor health, who really needed to be in a nursing home, but they couldn't get in because the nursing homes have rental agreements which say you can't have any felony conviction record. And I thought, oh my God, that's just over the top. And that's what finally spurred me to say, okay, this really, we need to start doing something about this now. So yes, thank you for bringing it up. And I wish we had done something sooner, but I'm glad that that finally caused me to yell expletives at the screen.
Yeah, it's
Bravo.
really sad, and it's understandable in certain situations if it's something where there was physical violence or murder or some type of sexual assault. But again, I think those you have to deal with the individual applicant, and rather than having this carte blanche, if you have this type of misdemeanor or felony, we're not even going to consider you. And so I think that's important. You know, like you said, it could be something somebody did 20 years ago. And now, you know, they're 70 and can't harm anybody if they wanted to. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's important to point out that it's the conviction record that you can't base it on. If someone's had some recent behavior and you know about that behavior, or it's one of their references says, by the way, this guy beats people up. Yeah, okay, that's something you can base your decision on, but the record itself is out. So
Everyone has to have a shot, and everyone has to know they do, and not feel somehow from some indicator that they're not going to have a chance. And that's the bottom line of our ordinance, that each person should be considered as an individual and not negatively because of some group they belong to. And that's what I always come back to in my own thinking when I think about these things.
I have one edit maybe to the letter if you're open to it. Just and I, being new to the committee, don't know how things get received, but I would recommend putting where you can find the city code somewhere in the letter so that they can go and look at it themselves, because you reference it. Tell them where to find it. It doesn't mean they won't have questions, but I always like to point people to the resources so they don't have to go dig it up themselves.
I can put the URL to the webpage in there. It's easy enough.
Yeah. Great. Very good suggestion. Yeah. Okay. Any other hands? I'm looking. Okay. And let's have a roll call vote.
Carol Bradford,
Yes.
Stacy Burnett,
Yes.
Megan McKissick,
Yes.
Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Rigberg,
Yes.
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Yes.
Great. We will move forward with this. Oh, we do need people to do the legwork.
I will first talk to Elizabeth and see if we've got any staff time to do this. Otherwise, I will recruit folks to help me out just downloading.
I'll be glad to do that.
Thank you.
Retired people. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Pete.
You're very welcome.
Bravo. Okay. Next, we move on to our EEO workforce statistics. Elizabeth. Oh, wait a minute. Not Elizabeth. Well, you presented us with the statistics, right? So.
Yeah, Tamara I did.
Tamara, yes. Okay.
So I can just give you a quick down. We've got
Okay.
About 9 or 10 to review tonight. I did want to point out several of them. 3 of them are 20 to 25 employees, and I don't recall what threshold. You know,
It's
you're
15.
using, right?
15.
So, and 2 of them, I think Tamara provided some additional information in an email. So let me call it up here. There is some additional information. Growmark, Illini FS, provided several documents demonstrating their efforts to increase diversity in their workforce after the last meeting. So those are in their packet that was attached to Tamara's email. And also EDC, Electronic Data Collection, submitted an application. Again, their last certificate was a 6-month provisional certificate. So they provided some additional documentation, and they also wanted to make us aware that they've started advertising for their software development positions, which are basically the only openings they have at several historically Black colleges and university, but they have not had any applicants from those efforts yet.
Thank you. People have had a chance to look at this. Do we have a motion for approvals? We need a motion.
I motion.
Is that Stacy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion for us to approve staff recommendations. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Megan. So we have a motion and a second for approval of the proposed approvals. Would anybody like to discuss any of these?
Could we be specific about what
Okay.
you're approving? Because we do different
Sorry.
terms.
I don't know. I have to say, I didn't get it. We have interviews tomorrow and I didn't get a chance to look at these, the workforce statistics. So I'm bad. Let me take a look at this.
This is Carol. I had a question. The Bailey Edward design is out of Chicago. Is that where the employees would be coming from, or is it someplace different? I couldn't gather that from the paperwork. So I was trying to see. Sometimes they give us the corporate office address, but the actual employees are coming from a smaller rural area. So
okay.
So I as far as I know, they do not have a local office here in, Champaign County. So this is an architecture firm that would do some work on city facilities. So I'm assuming they're just using staff from their Chicago office.
Okay.
So we're looking at Bems Clancy, Burns Clancy, Davis Hauk, Deuce, Gromark.
No, Fran, I believe those were from previous meetings.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not looking at this right. So where are the?
There's a tab on that spreadsheet that says April.
For April.
I don't see that.
At the very bottom of the page, do you see some tabs? And the very last one says April 2021.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It's an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Okay, we have Bailey Edward Design, Electronic Data Collection, Inc., Foth, Furman, GHR, Gromark, Lockmuller, and the Roderick Group. I'm correct? And where are the recommendations? Are they?
So there are not any specific recommendations.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't do my homework this week. Okay. So there's been a motion.
At least for purposes of discussion, can Stacy maybe pick some 2 year, 1 year, 6 month for each of them, and then.
Okay. So there's no real staff recommendation. There's just the data for us.
No, to be honest, I don't, since this is not my normal job, I don't understand the process or what criteria you apply well enough to do that.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, like Fran, I have not had a chance to go over these.
Yeah.
I'm
Really, this is
reading it.
embarrassing.
So,
Okay.
yeah, Stacy, did you want to make some recommendations? I did get a chance to review it between meetings today. Some people were kind of long-winded in meetings, so I started opening up a text.
Oh, thank you. You've done a great service.
But I mean, if she wants to do it, that's fine.
Go ahead, Carol, since you had a chance to look. I was just trying to review it real quick and I was coming up with some numbers, but you probably can have better ones than I do at this time.
Okay, so the ones that jumped out to me that I would do, we do like 6 months, a year, or 2 years, correct?
That's right.
Right.
Okay, so there were a couple of the larger ones that I was concerned about. Like all of their percentages seem to be in the minus, which is not good. So I was thinking we could do like for Lockmuller. I did look at the additional information Growmark sent, so that may be up for discussion as to whether we think they've done enough. But Lockmuller, Growmark, and I believe it was Furman were the ones that kind of jumped out to me. I wasn't sure about GHR. I know the threshold is 15, but to be honest, none of them look great, but those were the 3 that really like jumped out to me that we may want to do 1 year and then have them present us with some additional information showing their efforts. And because I wasn't sure exactly what, as far as the work projects, when they're going to be doing this stuff, that's why I said 1 year instead of 6 months. And I just think sometimes 6 months isn't doable. It can come and go pretty quickly. So to really give people time to show efforts. So I don't know if other people want to chime in, but I think when you've got the number of employees like Growmark, Lockmuller, that they have, it should be better. I think Roderick is pretty good as far as diversity goes. I'm not sure about. So those were the ones that jumped out at me. So my recommendations would be 2 years for Roderick, the Roderick group, a year for Lock. Had we given Growmark a year before?
I think we gave them 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they did send additional information to show that they're making efforts. So I would recommend giving Lockmuller Group and Growmark a year, GHR a year, Furman, again, they're in the negative, but it's 24 employees. And I just, so Furman, we could do a year, Foth, 2 years. I hope somebody's writing this because I won't remember. I just thought about that. I should have typed into the sheet. And then again, same thing, electronic data collection, very small. Not sure they even have access to diversity. And so I was thinking we go ahead and give them a year. And then Bailey has 53 employees. They seem to, again, none of the different categories are even close to representing percentages. So I would say for them, we do a year and ask them for additional information to show their efforts for diversity. What did we give them before? Oh, yeah. So that was the one that was out of Chicago that I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, and I don't know that we've approved, I don't know that you've approved them before. But I actually thought their numbers looked pretty close to the mark.
That was going to be my question. So the
Oh, okay, yeah, it is close. Because they just went down some in a couple of categories. But otherwise, they're getting close. What is it, like 12%?
Yeah, they're low. Well, and now if they're out of Chicago, that might be different. But just comparing them to Champaign County, they're low, just a bit low for Black and African American percentage, but they are above the line for Hispanic, other races. So yeah, Bailey looked reasonably good. So I'd be inclined to do 2 years. The other question I had was with Foth, why you went for 2 years.
Are they the ones that it's rural? I think it was looking at where they were at. So remind me if I'm getting them mixed up. Because again, it just depends on where they're pulling out of. If it's a large city where they've got access to more minorities and women, I think that makes a difference than if it's from a smaller town where the population would not supply that workforce.
It looks like they're out of Peoria.
Oh, well, then that's no excuse. So maybe we do a year with them as well and then ask them for information that provides efforts towards diversity, advertisement, recruitment, that type of thing.
So we have basically 1 year for everyone except maybe 2 for Bailey and
I think
2
Elizabeth
for Roderick.
was writing them down, so maybe she can read it
Okay.
off for me.
Yeah. So I have what I have written down, and I may have missed something, but 2 years for Bailey Edward and the Roderick Group.
Yes.
And every other business on the list would be certified for 1 year.
Okay.
That sounds right to me.
I think just for formality's sake, that's Carol making a friendly amendment to Stacy's original motion.
Thank you.
We are a friendly group.
And whoever seconded it are okay.
I don't have my Robert's Rules of Order sitting in front of me.
I am very weak on them myself, but I keep coming up with maybe the things that I remember. So
you're our resident expert.
That's frightening as all get out.
Okay, so that is the motion on the floor. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say about that, or have any questions or anything they'd like to change? All right, we can have a roll call vote. Tamara.
Carol Bradford,
Yes.
Stacy Burnett,
Yes.
Megan McKissick,
Yes.
Peter Resnick,
Yes.
Francis Regberg,
Yes.
Julie Robinson Schaefer.
Yes.
All right. Nice work, people. Okay. Now we have Elizabeth. Do you have anything else you'd like to report?
Well, I think Francis already mentioned this, but the final round of interviews, I believe, are tomorrow for the HREO. So I think we've made good progress, and you know, whoever is selected will probably take some time for the transition. But I'm hopeful that, you know, within a month or so we might have somebody new on board, which I know you will appreciate because I can't give you everything you need. Also, I had only one contact this month about a discrimination complaint, and after talking with that individual for some time, I referred him to the Illinois Department of Human Rights, since we don't have anybody on staff at this point to investigate that. But I did ask him to reach back out if he wasn't able to make progress through that, since hopefully we will have somebody on staff soon.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Okay. Yeah, my only announcement was going to be there will be interviews tomorrow of the final 3, and they look great. So, yes, Pete, I see your
One
hand.
little announcement that
Yes.
some folks might be interested in. Next week, the YWCA, the U of I YWCA is doing a series of presentations, a program called Racism is a Public Health Crisis in their Stand Against Racism program. And if you take a look, it's YWCA of YWCAUofI.org. They've got all of the details. It's obviously going to be an online program, but I thought people might be very interested.
Thank you, Pete. Anybody else? Carol.
I'll use my real hand this time. So I was in a meeting yesterday with Mr. Lamont Peppers, who was hired by the city of Urbana. And since I've been out on medical leave, I wasn't sure if he had been invited yet to present or to introduce himself and his plans to the Human Relations Commission. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I think it would be great to have him come before us and
we did
chat
have
with us about his new role and what plans he has and that type of thing.
We did have him when he first came on.
Okay, I missed it.
That's okay, but I think it's not a bad idea to see him more than that.
Okay.
So thank you.
I just wanted to make sure because I know I've been gone for a while.
Yeah. Well, it's so good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be back. And I can talk. I have a voice.
Yeah, you do. Okay, if that's it, then I'd say we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.